Welcome back to Spooky Happy Hour. I'm your host, Bree, and on this week's episode, I'm joined by a badass author, mentor, and innovator. Let's welcome Lauren Hellekson, a.k.a. LaurenHaunts.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for being here. I really
Oh,
appreciate
thanks for
it.
having me.
Yeah, I was just telling Lauren, our listeners, I was just telling her, like, there's so many things that I want to get in with you. So y'all are about to go on a wild ride, because if we're up, down, all around and back and forth 70 times, just, have fun with us. I would appreciate that.
Get your tinfoil hats ready.
Yeah, for real. So recently you took this last full moon pretty seriously. You wanted to release a lot of stuff, including some walks. So tell me what you were like thinking when you're like, you know what, I'm just going for it, because I love it, by the way. It looks
Oh,
very
thank
you.
you. I know. I cut my own hair and I will say, I was very impressed with not completely botching a bob. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I botched it. I think I'm
No,
pretty good.
not at
I
all.
think I'm
It's
pretty good.
very cute. I'm like, oh,
Thank
this is
you.
like her vibe.
I used to wear my hair so short all the time for many, many, many years. And then I grew it out and I love it. I love it long, but I don't know. Something just awakens when I just chop it all off. But it was interesting. There's been a lot of changes in my life. And there's been a lot of just like good chaos, but crazy chaos. And so I haven't been paying attention a lot to like my own spiritual practices.
Mm.
So I told my husband, I had cut myself like a little mullet for the summer. And I told my husband, I said, okay, January, I'm just going to chop it off. Because it's going to be like January. I'm going to start the year like fresh. Well, I'll chop it off. I'll do a ceremony with it, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, okay, cool. And bless my husband, I like don't shock him anymore. I even make him like, babe, we're doing some witchcraft. And he's like, oh, do I get to be a witch? And I'm like, hold this candle. No, not that one. And it's
Like,
great.
you're my assistant to the
He's
witch.
so,
Like,
and he'll be like, babe, he'll like hold a candle and he'll be like, babe, am I a witch right now? And I'm like, yeah,
I
you
like how he
are.
just gets into it.
That he does. And it's so cute because if anybody who's ever seen my husband, and he volunteers with me at the Ohio State Reformatory, so he has long, he looks straight up like a biker. He has long hair. He's a war vet. He's covered in tattoos. He's usually has like a scowl on his face, but he's like a sweet baby angel. Anybody who knows him,
Mhm.
he's like this little gentle beast. But
That's so awesome. I like that, like, he has that side, or
oh
like that's who
yeah,
he is,
he could be
because then you can
scary.
like balance it all
Yeah.
out as well, like complement each other really well.
Yeah, like when he's scary or when he's like, babe, we need to do this. We need to do it now. I'm like,
You're like, okay,
okay.
okay. Like,
It's so cute. Um,
I love it.
we both had pretty late nights, so he's sleeping right now. He was up late at the studio with his band, and I was up late at Hillview Manor. Um, but so yesterday morning, I woke up at 8 a.m. and I was just like piddling around, and I went into my bathroom, and I was like, I'm just gonna cut my hair right now. And I like split it down the center, put it in two pigtails, grabbed the scissors, and just went
Boop, boop, boop.
and held it. And I was like, I got this big. This is where it's like a little more witchy. I got this big jolt of like happiness,
Mm.
and I like ran upstairs holding this hair, and I was like, babe, babe. And he woke up and he looked at me. He was like, oh, I thought you were waiting until January. It looks real cute. And I was like, I'm so happy. I'm like crying.
Oh,
And he's like, that's good. It looks really cute. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go fix it. And then like, I don't know. It was weird.
so like you felt like the need to release something. You may
Yeah.
not have known what it was, but as soon as you did it, you were like, yep,
Yeah.
I needed to do this.
And then I was telling one of my girlfriends, I was like, yeah, I'm going to, I'm going to do a ceremony at the next full moon. And I went to my calendar to look and I was like, it's 99.1% full right now. And I'm like, oh shit. The moon was like, bitch, cut your hair.
Right. Release
And I
all
was like,
your stuff.
okay.
Give it to me. I'm ready to
Yeah.
take it. Like,
And you hold there's so much of your hair is, I mean, the it's on top of your head. It's on your crown chakra. It's like the forefront of your emotions, your experiences, your trauma, like it's there. So you retain so much of your experience. And so there's definitely a ceremony in cutting that off, because it's like cutting off a piece of yourself.
Hmm.
And sometimes you can use that that's why there's a lot of like around Salem witch trials and or anything that's like trauma against women, you'll see a lot of it is like cutting their hair off or shaving their heads.
Well, I mean, that's what they did to
And
the Native Americans to strip of their identity, was take their hair.
yeah, yeah. And that's such and a lot of the cultures that grow their hair incredibly long, you have a lot of Hinduism, things like that. This hair is such a pinnacle spiritual part of us that is tangible, that we can actually like feel and interact and touch. So it's almost incredibly sacred. So
Right.
taking it very seriously, or you don't have, of course, if you just want to go get your fucking haircut, it's okay.
Right. Do whatever
But
you want to do with it.
it
But
can be a deeply personal and ceremonious act to do that in a way. So it's downstairs right now. Tonight, because it's a Sunday, tonight I'll do a little
yeah.
little
Well, it all goes
letting.
down to your intentions, right? Like we can take the mundane, practical things that we have all around us
Oh my God,
and
yes.
still use it in this intentional, ceremonious way, which I love. I love so many things about your book. And if anybody wants to know what it looks like, what it is, here it is. I have it. Dark Moonlight, discovering your world with magic, mysticism, and the paranormal. I this has been like my guide recently. I one so attracted to like the lunar cycles. Most of it I think is because one, it's that like feminine connection that's
Oh
just
yeah.
there all of the time. And it's just something that like is very like I'm my own therapist, of course, too, even though I'm a therapist to other people. But like to me, the moon is really like the top. Like
Oh
that I'm
yeah.
like, take it all from me all the time. Help me manifest, help me reset my life. Like, and it's
And it's
just
there
it's
every night. You have a chance with it every night. Doesn't matter what the phase
exactly
is. You got a chance.
completely reliable, totally consistent. We don't have that in people or the things around us or even nature. Most of the time, the only thing that's constant is all of this change. But at least this is predictable change. I can look out at the
Mm-hmm.
moon and be like, this is the phase that it's in. So even like the phases of the moon in your book and going through each one of them, like this is more for this type of phase than it is this type of phase. And I really love that because I all the time I'm like, I go out for the new moon and I'm like, fuck, I can't see anything. I don't even feel like this is working. I'm
I
going back
know, and
inside.
you feel
Like,
like you have to wait, and you don't have to wait to do
yeah.
stuff. And I found
Mm-hmm.
that so important, because I was always like, oh, you got to do stuff under the full moon. Oh, it's not a full moon. I'm feeling really down. I just really want to do something. Yeah, you can.
Mm-hmm.
All the phases.
Yeah, every single one has its own special thing. And I'm like, I'm sorry I've been so neglectful of you for like, I don't know, 21 days out of the month. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Oh,
it.
that makes me happy, because it's I I'm always gonna hold on to this like one bad review on the book.
Oh no.
The funny thing is, the bad review literally is what the book was. Like the book says, like it's a very beginner, like basic, just the fundamentals, like really approachable, really digestible, not intimidating. And it was like the review was like, it was just a really beginner book about witchcraft. And I'm like,
You're like, did you read it?
yeah.
Or like, did you open to like the introduction? Because like maybe you would know. Oh my, do you know what probably happened? They probably skipped the freaking introduction, like most people do. I feel like sometimes people open a
And
book
even
and they're
on the
like,
back, like just read
introduction.
the back. Like that's what it was meant to be, and you said it was bad because it was what I said it was.
Right. And you're like, okay, well, you just need to do some extra reading. But that was my whole premise, and now it's there. And it
Yeah.
really was like when I opened it, one, I think that you're hysterical in the
Oh.
book too. Because like I can just like hear it for whatever reason, like, you know, in your voice saying it. And as a writer myself, the amount of like I do this like all the commas. Write
Oh,
everything in a row and then things in parentheses because I need you to have more context and you need to know
I
what my
write how I
subconscious is thinking.
talk
Yes, me too.
so
And I
much.
love it. And so like
So
it was
much.
just so conversational and I really felt like you were talking to me. And that's what I really love and appreciate about stuff that someone is saying, hey, I have all this influence, like I have all of this wisdom. I'm going to give it out to you because like you need it and it's so digestible. It's not something
It's
where super intimidated by.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the easy ADHD book for witches
Yeah, well,
with
and I sat there
coloring
and I was like,
pages.
I did this in one day. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't believe
So
it. I
digestible.
focused enough to like just keep going, and I completed it in one day. It was
I
awesome.
can't believe I focused enough to write it.
Well, I was listening to you on one of the podcasts. I was, doing some research before our own, and I can't remember which one it was, but you were like, wow, I felt like this was going to be a lot longer and bigger. It's this and that.
Oh, and I was like, it's 170 pages. It's like it
And
took
I
me like
loved it.
a year to like write it.
And I think that it really like one, if it was a lot longer, I probably would have taken a lot longer then. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
been able to get all of the things that I got out of it in the time that I did. So I love that it's a shorter read and it's not to say that it's not abundant with so many things that like I needed, especially because like in the beginning stages of like my own practice, I love how you said, don't put yourself in a box. Don't like start with like, what type of witch am I?
Yeah.
But if you're going to claim it, make sure that you do it because it's consistent and you really have to have that dedication to yourself. So when did you start kind of dedicating to yourself within your practice?
It's funny that you brought that little piece up because that was a very personal revelation for me because I constantly had people telling me, you're a Virgo, so you should act like this. You're a Virgo, so
Mm.
that means you're an earth witch. And I'm like, I might have a bunch of plants downstairs, but it's because like I kill like 200% of the plants that I have, and the ones that are surviving are just because they're like, I don't know, they're like warriors.
Mm.
And it was constantly like, well, oh, you do this, so you must be this kind of witch. You must be this kind of witch. You must be this kind of witch. And I'm just like, I don't even know like how I want to practice, what I want to practice. And I like a little bit of this. I like a little bit of that. I like a little bit of that. And I don't want to put myself in this category. And it makes you feel, it tries to pressure you into almost like practicing in a way that you're not comfortable and you don't connect with that. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
so, it has to be respectful first and foremost. So like culturally appropriate. So diving when I did a 23andMe for this reason so that I can dive into like my own cultural practices and research on my own cultural ties because as much as we want to think like, oh, but voodoo's so cool
Not for
culturally.
you, probably.
Yeah, and I go over this in that book too. I'm like, culturally, yes, you can appreciate it and think it's very cool, but it's not going to work for you like it would for somebody that has the lineage to it. Even if you are inducted into your local voodoo, practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going it's fine. You can do whatever you want, especially if you're whatever they call it when I don't know. White people just like to do all the other things that aren't white people things. But
Oh, since the dawn of time.
I discovered it, so I'm gonna do it.
Right? I'm gonna claim it as my own without giving
Yeah,
any other context to it.
yeah, and it's just like, but why? Like, we have so much. If you dive into like I found out that I was French and German, and I started to dive into a lot of like French lore, and it's really difficult to find witchy stuff historically, but like there were plenty of witch trials in Europe and a lot of trauma around
Mm-hmm.
witchcraft in Europe, and there's a lot of old cultural ties to um, French speaking countries, and then even up in Canada, and there are those cool not I mean it's trauma based, but there's a lot of like French speaking Louisiana style witchcraft that I'm still not culturally attached to. So I'm not going to say like, oh well, they speak
Mm.
French, so I could do.
Right.
Find what works so deeply with you. Make sure that it's respecting other cultures. Make sure that it's tied to you in some way, but then also just that you connect with it. And I was like, I like cooking. I like setting shit on fire. I like gold.
Mm.
But I like the moon. And these are all these things that were like, oh, that's like 3 different kinds of witchcraft. And I'm like, I don't care.
You're like, I'm gonna make it my own because I
Yeah, in
can,
like
and
the
that's what I'm drawn to.
1400s on the French countryside, when the witch up in the woods, she wasn't being like, oh, well, I don't want to contradict my earth witchcraft with my
Yeah.
fire. No, she was just like, fire, cooking stuff, eating children.
Right.
And that's what it was. So I was
Mm.
just like, I'm going to use fire and herbs and the full moon and like my body cycles, and I'm going to use intention while I'm cooking, and I'm going to do a lot of things around herbal magic, which is like plant magic, but then I'm going to do a lot of things under the moon. And my biggest video that like went viral on TikTok was my burn shit stuff, when I was teaching people about like different ways that you can just find really accessible things in your kitchen that you can burn that aren't going out to Sephora and getting a bundle of white sage.
Right. Like when you were like taking inventory, I'm like, oh my God, I could probably use a bunch of shit around here.
Yes.
But that was the pressure that you were saying about like, this has to be the witchy aesthetic, and you can only look like this, and you can only have this, and your altar can only have these things on it. And all of these, like that
my iced coffee's witchcraft, okay?
Right. Like, let me stir some intention into every single drink that I have. Like you were saying, like, let's cook with it. You can be witchy and not have any of the bullshit.
Yeah.
And that was really freeing for me. Like your book literally like liberated all of those things. One, because I was so very, I don't want to say pessimistic either, but very hesitant, I should say, of like tiptoeing into it. Because as a therapist too, very culturally aware, I did not want to appropriate any type of culture. And at the same time, I was like, well, what is it? And with the whiteness that is there, I'm like, well, what the fuck's for me? You know, because I like always have to toss all these other things to the side, because I'm like, that isn't for me. It's not going to work for me then. Well, what is for me? What can I do? And now that I've been like learning tarot, and I'm getting into more of like human design, because that's like really where my passion is lying, is in human design. I'm like, wait, I can use all of these things into this beginning practice, and I don't feel so awful about it, because I haven't been appropriating culture, and it's been my anxiety the whole time saying like, you know, putting this gatekeeping thing that says no, you can't do any of this because it has to be a certain way, and now it doesn't.
Yeah, and it's yours, and the cool thing about it too is it's yours personally, and nobody else has to have access to your magic. Nobody has to. You don't have to show anybody what you're doing.
And when you were like in the book, you saying like all that perfect and all that magic and all that whatever, it's already inside of you. So you don't have to have anything outside of you to validate it. And I feel like I needed to hear that, in terms of like letting the shackles go, metaphorically, being like, okay, cool, I can really start and dive into this, because I do know what I'm doing. And I am okay to explore my own stuff. And I know I'm not going to offend any other type of community or culture. And you know what? If I do, I take accountability for that shit and make whatever amends that I must, and then I modify and go down a different path.
Oh yeah, and then you've learned something, and you've learned something really, really cool, and maybe you also discover something really cool about that culture to teach other people about.
Absolutely. When I see all these people appropriating all of this culture, and that's why I'm like, I don't want to like associate here, or like try to jump into a community that I don't totally support doing what it is that they do. And even like, you know, I would say like smudge all the time. I'm like, no, I'm not smudging. I'm smoke cleansing, using not white sage, you know, shit. Just yes, I'm burning shit. So it was just getting behind the language that I needed to use personally. So I really felt like, you know, I really felt seen by your book. It was beautiful.
That makes me really happy.
And it was very like, I don't know, it was very like touching. I feel like a connection. I'm getting like weird, like, you know, even like emotional right now.
This will never. I am so intimidated to even write another book, because of how deeply I felt connected to the people that like finish it and reach out, and they're like, oh my God, I just finished it. And we just like, it's like, it's its own little coven.
It really, really is. And it's just something that's like lights a fire, like inside of you, that's always really been there, but that you just like push away and push away. Yeah. And so I feel very like more even connected to myself too.
That makes me really happy.
Yeah. So thank you for writing, and don't stop writing. And I think that people like me who have read this and is like, wow, I didn't know that I needed this, but thank God Amazon brought it to my door. Continue to do so, because we'll buy it, and we'll love it, and we'll keep reading it, and we'll keep using it for years to come.
I'll just write a book about how much everybody makes me cry.
I know, I'm like sitting here getting teary. I was like, oh my God, like in the book too, like going back to your childhood and like having the escapism from like trauma and different experiences, and like your parents got divorced and all of these different things. I was like, oh my gosh, that's kind of like where mine started too of just like, I can go into this whole other world and
Girl,
explore it. And I don't have to live in this one because right now it's very painful to do so.
all people who've experienced trauma, they have dabbled in the craft.
Mm-hmm.
We all had our witch phase, and now it's
For
just
sure.
about claiming it as an adult because now we can, do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. And I don't have to like watch The Craft and then do it exactly how they, you know what I mean? I don't have to do it exactly like I found in the movies because, well, one, I think that is like very, I think that's probably one of the only movies that I would say is very like to the T.
Well,
So,
they had Wiccan practitioners consult, so they were
mhm.
doing real like Wiccan ceremonies and real like Wiccan spellcraft in that movie.
Yeah,
It's
I was
really cool.
looking at all of the behind the scenes stuff and I
Yeah,
was like, no
it was very
wonder.
respectful. It was very respectful.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that they did that because there are so many other ones that just don't, or they put things together that is like stereotypical, or then everybody thinks that that is the way that it is. And I'm like, wait, there's a total different side to this that is underlying that is much more real than what you think that it is.
I will say, Hocus Pocus made me make all my spells rhyme,
Turn it into a song, you know?
and I can't stop. They
I
have
love
to
it.
rhyme,
It's kind of poetic.
and I had to do this when I do it.
I love it. My son loves Hocus Pocus and has watched, he's about to be 5 in January, but he's watched it for forever. We watch
That's
it
amazing.
all year round. Like it's not just a Halloween thing. And sometimes when he gets like yesterday he was getting really mad at me because I was telling him to put on pants. It was almost like I was murdering him
What
by telling him to put on pants.
Mom,
And
are you serious?
yeah, couldn't believe it. And
Wow.
he was like, "Go away." And I was like, that's not gonna work, dude. Like, still here. Like, but thank you for,
This is
trying your
why I'm
best.
not a parent, because I would have been like, whoa, why would you do that?
If we were in a playful mode, totally fine. But it's like,
Oh, I would
no,
be
put on your
dead
fucking pants.
serious.
Like,
I would be dead serious, and I would be angry, and I would send him to his room.
hmm?
Dead. I would
Go,
be dead ass.
disappear.
Yeah, I would be. Thank goodness I don't have children.
I'm so thankful that like now that I'm coming into my own, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can pass down so much stuff to my
You can create
child.
your own like cultural like lineage practice.
Yes, and I felt
That's
like that
amazing.
was so missing previously. Came from a very strict religious household, both sides, mom, dad, lots of religious trauma. So the fact that I've even gotten here, like, and it's only taken 34 years and not 70 years before it all like clicked, is like, I'm just proud of myself in that manner too. But I'm like, wow, I don't have to pass down all of the religious trauma that I do have, saying, hey, this is the only way that you can go through the world. This is the only way that you get to a good afterlife. This is the only way you can be a good person. And so not knowing really like what to say or how to say it to him about certain things, but I really want to teach him about my stuff. And then getting all the flack from my religious family of like, no, you can't teach him these things. Like, that's evil. And I'm like, no, I'm teaching him about your stuff and about other cultures and other religions and my own type of practice. And when he grows up, he will have so much information that he can say, I know exactly what speaks to me. And that's the type of parent that I want to be, is like, what speaks to you? It doesn't have to be the same thing as me, but you will have all the context. You will be so informed, and then you get to decide and I'll support whatever it is that you want to do. You want to
You
love
are
Jesus? Go ahead. I'm not going to, but I will support you in doing it.
you are doing a very profound ancestral act by breaking a chain that's probably taken years and years and years and years and years and years, and you're breaking a generational trauma chain by doing that. So like it it might seem like something that's just like, oh, this is freeing and this is nice, but like that's such a big, huge, that's a if your son has children and they have children and they have children, they, like you have to understand that, oh, hundreds of years ago, Grandma Bree introduced us to witchcraft, and here's her grimoire. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that. We had all of this, just religion and all of these things that were holding us down, and then our the savior of our line broke that chain, and like it's a very big profound thing to like
Mm-hmm.
deconstruct from religious trauma and then to actively want to do the opposite to your children. And And I think that's something that's happening so much right now. And it's
Absolutely.
so cool to see.
And it's like holding the world like on our shoulders for a sense, but it's not like a crushing burdensome thing. It's like a wow, I can do this thing.
We're
Coming from such like
changing.
powerless, like a state of powerlessness. And now it's like, wait a minute, like I can really just like kick the fucking door in. Like Sam and Dean Winchester from Supernatural is the image that I get in my brain of like, I'm gonna kick this shit right in and I'm gonna go and make it my own
Mm-hmm.
because I need like a better world for my kids and their
Yep.
kids and whatever else comes after that. And I think that like now I can come with a little bit more of like a vengeance with that because of your book. It let me like I like creaked the door open and now it's just like poop blown right through and I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing. So when Grandma Bree, I'll be like, and Lauren in this like underscore here by
I want to
Lauren
be
Hellekson.
I want like 300 years from now to be remembered by some like crazy like spider lady, and I had pet spiders that listened to me, and I flew on spider webs.
I love it.
That's what I want. I want there to be like tales.
Mm-hmm. Tales that come back and the like
I want to be
change
a
and the
myth.
lore and the legends and
Yeah, I want
yeah.
lore. I just want lore. Okay, world. I just want lore. Just
You
give me
heard it
lore.
here first. Give her the freaking lore.
Start telling stories about me.
And have a, you know what? It will be so funny too as it continues to go and go and go and go and go. You'll probably even hear 10 years from now, like, do you know the story of you?
I want it. I
I
want to
absolutely love
hear
it.
stories about myself. Okay, guys? But I want it to be like totally changed, like nobody knows it's me.
Yeah.
I've turned into something else. Yeah.
I love you'll have your own Hocus Pocus movie about you in just a way different way. Somebody screenwrite that right now.
You heard it here first, folks. I
Right.
can't write it.
You're like, it'll take me years and years and years,
It'll
and the
be
movie will be
170
20 minutes
pages
long.
long.
Like,
Yeah. If that, not even 20. Are you kidding me? You know how long a script is to be 20 minutes long? Oh my God.
shoo, it's take a lot of work.
Commercials are like this thick.
Oh man, I just really like that was like the highlight of my time in this book though. Like it really means a lot to me. And I really appreciated not just like you put your own flair, into all of it. It's not like anything else that I've ever read. Like I have books where it's just like the same regurgitated type of like information and I'm like, "Hi, this is not it. Like I need to find it somewhere in there." And especially the recipe part, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is really awesome." I'm like, "I probably won't do any of those because I don't know." I feel like very like, "Okay, I can't do it." Because I'm like,
Do them.
I don't know. I don't know." Most of the time I'm just like burning fucking bay leaves or like my journal pages and I'm like, "Okay, this is
That's
cool."
in there.
It is. Yes, it is. It is, but
Write a
I want
little,
all
write
of the
something
other
on your
stuff.
bay leaf next time. Just
Yeah.
write something on your bay leaf next time. Boom.
Little
You just
intentions. Here we
you need some
go.
manifest magic.
I need to keep it more of a journal because I do them and then I don't remember. Like part of the book of like you're saying like, "Hey, write this shit down too." Like what changes? How do you feel? What
Yeah.
happens afterwards? And I don't do that and I need to.
Get a yell jar. I have like an angry jar.
Mm.
And there's a bunch of, sometimes I probably shouldn't talk about this. So it's an angry jar, and it's like a directional angry jar. And if ever I'm just like really frustrated, it can be something like you have to be very intentional about it. So it can be like world hate in a jar, and you yell at it when you're frustrated, or like you could like sexism in a jar. You could do a sexism jar. And it's your anger, and you can spit in it. When you experience something like that, you can yell in it, and it's somewhere to almost like focus a lot of your energy. And it doesn't even have to have anything in it, even when you spit in it. And then you just put it somewhere, and you put it somewhere dark. And it's like a way to. Did I low key tell people how to jar someone? I don't know. Maybe you put your ex-boyfriend in there. I don't know. So
I have a
anyway.
certain, I don't know, country leader I would like to.
Oh,
do that
so
too.
whatevs.
I'm like, oh wait, I've been feeling like
Is it
defeated and
something
hopeless for
that
2
you
weeks.
could
Let me
write
get it somewhere.
a fan letter and be like, "I'm such a big fan. Can I please have an autographed photo from you with your handwriting on it so that I have something that's personally connected to you, so I can put it in a jar and have something that's a direct personal connection to you, because that's important." Oh my
Yeah,
God,
let
we should
me.
cut this part out.
Yeah. I know everyone's listening, like, I'm gonna stop here. Well, too bad. You're not for me anyway. So keep scrolling along.
We weren't specific.
Right? Keep scrolling along because I have for like 2 weeks. Like, I don't even want to get out of bed sometimes. And I have been holding space for so many people 40 hours a week in my therapy office. And I'm just like, where do I put all of this? I'm taking all of your stuff. I have my own shit. I'm feeling very dark. I'm like, what the fuck do I do with it? I'm very irritable, snappy, yucky. And it's like, as much as I try to like just dispel all this energy and like shake it off like a wet dog, it's not going anywhere.
It's, if I can just, sorry, everybody, I'm going to get political for a second. It's fine. Deal with it.
It
I
is.
get pseudo political anyways on my Facebook, and you guys just, I don't know, people don't notice. It is so right now, no matter who you are, whether you're elated and you're excited or you're distraught and you're upset, the interesting part is that we have turned something that is supposed to be a very basic, cut and dry program of guidance and, productivity for a group that we live in, which is our country. And it is supposed to be something that we all have a say in how things are distributed, how things are, accumulated, how they're passed out, how they're um, other words. I don't know. I'm losing words. And it's turned into this, my superhero is going to beat your superhero,
Mm,
and my superhero is my daddy. Well, my superhero is my mommy. My mommy can beat up your daddy. My daddy can beat up your. And it has turned into not anything that's about us anymore
yeah.
as humans. Sorry, as I'm smacking my, it's 100%, no matter where your alliance, which it shouldn't be alliances,
Right.
lie. It has become so deeply about the ego and us being these singular centered beings wanting to dictate how everyone else does things because we're hurt and we want to feel like we can control somebody else. No matter
Mm,
what, no matter where your side is. Some of those sides are more aggressive and more damaging than others, but it's like the
collectively, we're producing our own hurt.
collectively we are so lost because of our centeredness on our
Mhm.
existence. We're not looking at the world or the universe or our lives as this big collective, as in, none of us would be here if it wasn't for everyone.
Mhm.
And none of us would be hurting unless it was for everyone. And none of it, like, it's everyone. And yet we're saying, like, if I were to approach somebody who voted opposite of me and I said, I hate you because you did this, that's like yelling at the blood infection instead of the broken bone.
Mm.
It's like yelling at the broken bone instead of the person with the hammer. And it's so upsetting that it has come down to the point where we're now celebrating and being so excited about such hate and control and aggression and irresponsibility and harshness and division. And there's such a huge chunk of the country that's celebrating that. Ha
Mhm.
ha, we won. We're going to take this from you. You're ours now. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, it's
And that's
ownership and not accountability.
and that's so deep in the ego. That's so deep in
Mhm.
hurt of everybody who's different from me is a pedophile. Everyone who has an abortion is a murderer. Everyone who doesn't like the opposite sex is a pervert. And it's like,
It's a all or nothing type
it's
thinking.
an
And I'm like,
all it's an all or
come
nothing.
on, like we
It's
all
an
live in the
all or nothing.
gray.
And it's a blindness. It's a blindness
Mm-hmm.
because statistically, we all know where most of the people that hurt children are.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, why ignore it? You know, you already know it, so why ignore it?
Because we
And
want
then
to ignore
say,
something that also can harness so much power. So, of course, we're going to ignore that because it's an incredible, powerful force. Because
mm-hmm,
there is nothing that holds religion accountable because it's, sorry, everybody, because it's make believe, just like
mm-hmm,
witchcraft,
yeah.
just like the paranormal, because it's make believe so we can make it what we want it to. And there's no accountability for it.
And the more energy and power that you put into this one
The more
framework
powerful
of
it
doing it
gets.
the one thing, yeah, it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And then everybody looks at it like, I can't dismantle that. We can collectively, we can, so that it works for the way that it's supposed to, or
We
for
burnt down Nick
everyone.
Fuente's house.
Let's go. Have my picket. Let's rock and roll. Like my torch is there.
And then a couple days later in Dayton, there was a Nazi parade that went down the street in Dayton,
Yeah.
Ohio.
It's just like I don't understand how some people can say, "Here, I'm going to light the match and watch it go and then not expect it to go somewhere and blow the fuck up." Where do you think it's going to get cut off? Cuz some of us, one of us, a lot of us have to cut it off somewhere. And I think too living back in my hometown, which is very red, always has been, and live like coming from 10 years in Colorado, very blue, and to coming back here and ha- traveling around the world, seeing different cultures, seeing how other people live, experiencing that for quite some time, totally different lens from when I lived here previously. And nobody gives a fuck where I've been. Nobody gives a fuck who I've seen or what cultures that I've been a part of or have been. And I'm like, okay, this is why I have a
That
collective
challenge is
mindset.
scary. Being
Yeah.
wrong is scary.
Absolutely. And I'm like, no, there's power here. They're like, just because you went halfway across the world, and just because you've done this in Costa Rica, and just because you've done this in London and Paris and Belgium and all of these places, like, that doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, no, it means a fuck ton of stuff because I didn't think that there was anything different than what I had been living for so long. So, with you being as well traveled and culturally immersed as you have been, do you think that those are the reasons why a lot of us are more collectively conscious than others because we've
We
seen the collective?
So I do think that access to information is a very, very big issue. And I'm not even speaking from like from any kind of platform saying that I know better than anybody else. I just know differently.
Mhm.
But I've also had a huge revelation of feeling wrong and being wrong and having to find comfort in my wrongness. I and this is and I'm so uncomfortable saying this now, but I used to say this all the time. Me and my sister are adopted, and my sister is a black woman. And I used to use I have a black sister so much, not understanding the racial implications of me othering myself as this, like, oh, I can't be racist. My sister's black.
Right.
And having to sit with my internalized racism and my externalized racism and deconstruct that was so uncomfortable. And I'm not trying to victimize myself because I was creating a victim out of her by subjecting her to being a part of an all white family and then me further using her like otherness in our family to center myself.
Mhm.
And there was something so uncomfortable about that. And then even furthering too uncomfortable with trying to be an advocate in a world where black and brown people honestly have a lot of reasons to fucking hate white people. Sorry guys.
Mhm.
And for me still wanting to advocate and be and lend space to the people that are like, you know, fuck you white lady, I don't need your time or your energy or anything. And it's like I totally get it, no worries, it's not a big deal. And instead of me being like, fine, well, I get that, no, like that, there's something so uncomfortable that you have to learn with understanding that we as melanin deficient human beings have been the center of this country since its founding.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to deconstruct that and stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as the colonizer and as the person who has marginalized all of these and a huge chunk of these people historically don't even belong here. We brought them here by force and made them do what we wanted them to do, or we kicked them out, or we murdered them and we pillaged them and we said, sorry, this is mine, fuck off. And we said, you can't use our water fountain, you're gross, you can't vote, you can't this, you can't that. And that's coming as a white woman, because statistically speaking, again, white women are the primary upholders of white supremacy in the United States of America. Not white dudes, white women. And coming to terms with that was incredibly difficult. So it was like, when I left I studied yoga in India, which is, again, a very privileged white thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to do my best to not, like, I just packed a backpack. There were people that had, like, you know, loads and loads and loads of luggage. And I was like, I'm just going to do a backpack. I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. I'm trying to be as frugal as possible. I'm just going to try to be in this experience, because going over there to study yoga was affordable. And that was the only way I could travel. It was just, well, I shouldn't say affordable. Again, it was expensive, but it was definitely cheaper than trying to go to India for a month.
Yeah.
So I went to India, and then being there as like one of the only Americans in the entire place that I was studying in was I was able to sort of hear other countries and other people and their experiences. And then, of course, their experiences with what they think about America and what they think about Americans. And one of the biggest things that really always stuck with me was just like how self-centered America is. The majority of this country speaks one language, while 90% of the rest of the world speaks 3, if not 4 or 5. Just naturally, because that's what they're taught from a young age. You are taught your language and you're taught English.
Mm-hmm.
And English is such a standard. And while that's not just because of America, that's also because like Britain and England. I'm sorry, I'm getting like this weird like side part thing happening with my bangs, and it's
Flip it,
I look
girl.
like my dad. What's happening? Oh, there. Okay, I don't know. But my dad, like in the early '90s when he had like his comb over. And that was really interesting, because I went to like Germany and Ireland, which is an English speaking country, and Israel and like Jerusalem, and that area was really grounding. And then also India, like in India, being treated like somebody who had a ton of money. So I was with one of my girlfriends who was from Israel, and we were on a motorcycle, and she was on the back. I like to tell, I used to ride motorcycles a lot. So when I was in like circles with other bikers, I like to tell the story that I got to ride up one of the mountains in the Himalayas with a beautiful Israeli woman on the back of my bike. And it was just like one of my girlfriends, and we like biffed out, like almost fell off the cliff, and it was hilarious. But like the story sounds so
like the
cool.
highlight of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I rode a bike up a mountain. It was like a 250, like a really small, like with a beautiful Israeli woman on the back. Her name was Ayala, and she was just fucking goofy as shit. It was so fun.
Oh.
And but also everybody in Israel's gorgeous.
Yeah, I bet.
Beautiful. And there was the Indian police, and they were trying to wave us down, pull over, and me just like, oh, okay. And she tapped me on my shoulder and she said, keep going, speed up, keep going. And I was like, are you sure? And she's like, go. And so I gunned it, and we zoomed past, and they tried to grab us and chase us. They were under a bridge. And she was like, if that was police, that was dirty police. Do not stop. Do not stop. If you don't have a reason to stop, do not stop.
Thank God for her.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit. She was like, they saw you were white. And I also got detained at the airport, and I almost got stuck in India It was past my visa expired while I was in the airport. They tried to kick me out of my airport. They tried to keep me in the country. They tried to arrest me
Wow.
because they detained me and I needed to pay a fine. And because I couldn't pay it, they wouldn't let me through. Like it was crazy. I was in the airport in Diridun for was I in, yeah for like 3 days just sleeping on the sidewalk.
What?
It was insane.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
And it's from
crazy.
that like financial piece of like they correlate your whiteness with wealth.
Yeah. And they don't give a shit. So they were like, nope, you're staying. You have to pay a fine. And I was like, I don't have any money. And they were like, sorry, you can't get on your plane then. I missed my plane. It was terrifying. It was
How
so
the hell did you
scary.
get home?
I had to wait. I spent the night and then they kicked me out. And so I was outside on the sidewalk like a homeless person. And I had to wait until the next day when the banks in America opened. And I tried to get a hold of people. I couldn't get a hold of anybody. Finally, I got a hold with one of my girlfriends in Pittsburgh. And I was like, I don't know what to do. You know, can you wire me money? Can you do this? Can you do that? Like, we're trying to figure out how to get me money. She put some money in my checking account and I went with my debit card and I tried to get them to take money off and they said, nope, we need cash. I couldn't take that much cash out of the ATM. We had to
My
figure out like a
gosh.
wiring. It was awful. And then I had to pay $750 to get another ticket, an airplane ticket. It was awful.
That's terrible. Like
It was
it
crazy.
makes me very like because when I hear stories, right? Like then it makes me nervous to like go to certain places or do
No,
certain things.
that was
But
such like do not stay until the last day of your visa. That's all I'll say because they
yeah,
will try to delay you so that your visa expires and then they can try to charge you fees to get out of the country. So it's like a scam. And that's not to speak ill because that's not how it is. When I was in go to like I stayed in Rishikesh and it was the most beautiful and wonderful. I mean, I was like a regular at the corner store and it was like dirt roads and street food and
it
just
makes me nervous mostly not because of any cultural thing, but because I don't pay attention to small
oh yeah,
details
it was so
often, which really
scary.
fuck me over like 98% of the
Well, and the
time.
funny thing is it was like that really was grounding for me because I am surprise, surprise, I'm a pretty white lady. So in
Mhm.
America, I'm used to like, oh, I can just like skirt by this. It's not, oh, but da, 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 da. Oh, it's
Mhm.
okay. It's my last day of my visa. It's fine. It's not going to be a big deal. No, when you're in another country, they don't give a fuck. Like
No.
you're American, you're like you're dumb, but you're rich, and we're going to take advantage of you.
Well, I mean, it's like WNBA player Brittany Griner. Like she's like, take
Yes,
some pot, and like whatever. It's not gonna really do anything to me. I'm just a
yes,
black woman, but still, like
yes.
they didn't care. Like you can't do that. And now you've spent months in another country, terrified for your life, not knowing if you're gonna go home to your wife or not.
Yep. And those experiences, it was like, of course, there was beautiful, picture perfect, all these moments, of course, but it was like the fuck ups that I did when I was overseas that taught me so much about I'm not the center of the universe.
Hmm.
I can't get by by
I will
being
experience
a white
consequences.
lady. Yeah. I'm like I am not special. Is kind of what it was and it was a really big moment because we all want to think like, no, I'm so grounded. I'm not racist. I'm not this. I'm not that. You don't know the implications that your ego has on who you are until you get yourself in a situation that you honestly can't get out of. And this is also like, oh, well, I've been through a lot of bitch, so have I. Like
Hmm.
we've had there's been well, we don't want to get into this. This is for my therapist and my psychiatrist and shit, but I'm not saying I grew up in this like beautiful, accessible, picture perfect, had all this stuff in the world, all this stuff. No, like there's a lot of trauma that goes into being a part of a family with mental health issues and, some abuse and a lot of, broken family dynamic. And, my mom suffered with alcoholism my entire life. I never really met my mom because by the time she got sober, dementia hit and I was her
Hmm.
primary caretaker. And so there's been a lot of trauma there. So this isn't like, oh, the poor white lady went and she wasn't the center of the world and then she learned a lesson. No, it was, I had always felt like I wasn't the center, but I didn't realize that I had this underlying racism, this underlying white complex, this underlying white savior complex that I had, that I still had to dismantle in
Mm-hmm.
order to see better. And I still struggle with a lot of that centeredness and a lot of taking myself out of the equation and a lot of feeling offended if like my help isn't welcome,
Mm-hmm.
because we want to be appreciated when we advocate for marginalized groups. That's white savior complex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
If
like
you
nobody,
can't,
you don't need a pat on the back. And if that's what you're looking for, you're doing it for the
yeah,
wrong
if
reasons.
you want it because you want to put it on the internet and have everybody like you for it, and you want to put out like, oh, but look at this LGBTQ cup that I made, and I'm an ally. Everybody like it. If you are not advocating behind the scenes without having to post it all over the internet, you're performative. That's called performative
Mm-hmm.
activism. It's when you're doing things and you're plastering it everywhere and you're making sure everybody knows. That's performative. Now don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. If you're doing like you're sharing things and you're sharing information in order to educate people, totally different. But if I'm sharing like my good deeds for the marginalized communities that I'm helping, that is performative activism, and that's your ego.
Yeah, it's
You
about the
still have
vessel, not
so
the
much to
message.
deconstruct.
Mm-hmm.
So much to deconstruct.
And
You
I
are
think
still
that
speaking
people,
over other people.
and I don't think that people really understand it, because as long as they're not overt with it, they think it's fine. And it's like, no, no, no. We want to talk about the covert stuff that you might not even be aware of and continue to go deeper into that. And I think that like transitioning that into the paranormal too, the community is like large, but not. It's also small, if that makes any type of sense. So it's like one, male dominated, mostly white men. How do you stand in your
Mostly
own power?
conservative white men.
Yes, which I did not realize until lately, which kind of like I'm like my brain is like reeling. It's almost like mush at the same time, just trying to like find a way to
It's
like
tough to
put it all
navigate.
together. But it's like, how do you stand in your own power as a white woman, as a just a woman in general, in a field that is dominated by conservative white males? Being that you're strong, that you have a lot of opinions, that you are an innovator, like there's so many things that like adjectives that we would prescribe to men that you also hold as a woman. So how is your experience in the community? Gearing up.
Um, so it's interesting that you say that. Now, yes, conservative white men dominate this industry. Now, I recently made a post on Facebook too, just kind of talking about that, because I think a lot of it comes from when I was saying, like, I don't hate someone for how they voted, but I will judge you based on the things that you've showed me prior to your vote. So
Hmm.
if you are posting this like anti-trans rhetoric, anti-black, anti-woman, your body, my choice kind of rhetoric, that's what I judge you on. I don't
Hmm.
judge you on um I do kind of judge like the daddy or even the mamala stuff. I do kind of judge on that because I'm like, these are supposed to be our political leaders. They're not maternal and paternal figures. Like, they're
Hmm.
not your mommy or your daddy, because there's so much trauma that comes with that.
Yeah.
So much trauma that comes with that. Like, don't.
It's like
Um,
the divorce court memes, you know? It was like, we are
dude,
not children of these people. Like, we do not
no,
have to follow
don't.
some sort of order of something or some script that somebody had given to us. Like, this is more taking away what we,
That is
our
so
power,
broken.
and giving it to somebody else and just following
Yeah.
along blindly. Like, no, thank
that
you.
that dynamic bothers me so badly. I've seen like daddy's home and I'm like,
Ew.
that is,
Makes me want to
you
vomit.
are hurt. We need
Yes.
to heal you, sweet boy or sweet girl.
Hmm.
And but I also was noticing that I, right off the top of my head, right off, if I were to say five, I could name you five people that I know specifically that voted for, let's say, Donald Trump, who have done huge things for the community, who have advocated, not even openly, advocated, whether silently or whatnot, for marginalized groups, who have done like leaps and bounds for women and trans people and black and brown people to uplift them in the community. And like, right off the bat, I could name you 5 people that I know were Donald Trump supporters that are incredible humans. And I was like, what? And then on the other hand, I can name you 5 more people that are narcissistic, manipulative, performative fucks who voted for Kamala Harris. And I could name you people that voted third party that are trash. And I can name you people that are voted third party that are immaculate, beautiful, wonderful human beings. And having to take that in, and of course, I'm speaking from a place of privilege where, yes, absolutely, my rights are 100% in question. But like,
Mm-hmm.
my marriage isn't going to be in question. My marriage isn't
Right.
going to be taken away from me, but my husband's disability could be taken away from him. He's a disabled veteran. We get money
Mm-hmm.
from the VA because he fought 3 combat tours in Iraq and he watched all of his friends get fucking blown up in front of him and his ears are complete trash and he has polyps all over his sinuses from burn pits and he has arthritis in his shoulders and like black shit comes out of his ears because of faulty ear. Like we get money for the service that he did for his country and the hurt that he went through for his country, and that's in question. And I do have an issue with that, and I don't think a lot of people realize because of the access to information, but I digress
Mm-hmm.
from that. So it's like I'm still kind of speaking from a place of privilege for this, and I don't expect other people to think this way because I'm like, I will think this way for you so that
Mm-hmm.
you can stay angry and hurt, and I'm going to make sure that I can speak up to the people that need to be spoken to and you don't have to worry about it for now. And so when I'm approaching people that I do know have very opposite political views, I instead try to find like a not a fake kindness, but like a kindness medium of from like if you can have a friendship with somebody who has completely opposite views and then we can find little bits and pieces of the things that we agree on, we can find this common ground that might maybe start to unravel something. Because my big goal is let's get the fuck away from all these parties, everything sucks,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much that we all agree on. We all agree that everybody should be able to live affordably. We all agree that people shouldn't just be dying for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
We all agree that people should be able to love who they want to love. We all agree that kids need to be protected. We all agree that people should be able to have access to education. We all agree that people should be able to protect themselves in the way that they need to be protected. Like there are so many general things that we agree on. It's just when you elaborate on those, children need to be protected. So trans rights are in question because trans people are pedophiles. Okay, sweetheart, historically, priests are pedophiles.
Yeah, not
Not
that
drag
group.
queens,
Yeah, no.
not drag queens, not trans people. Well, we got to protect our women, so trans rights. Protecting us from the trans boxer, but also taking away Roe v. Wade isn't protecting women.
Mm-mm.
Protecting, now this is going to be controversial. You're not protecting women by telling trans girls they can't play sports because you're not telling trans boys they can't play sports. It's
Mm-hmm.
never about trans boys or trans men, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
notice that.
Yeah.
It's always about trans women because trans women challenge the male gaze because men still feel like trans women are men and
Mm-hmm.
they feel like they can't control men. So they don't want trans women in the question because the conversation is never about trans men.
Well,
I've
it's just like
noticed that.
reproductive care. Nobody's saying, hey, no vasectomies. They're just talking about taking away birth control and abortion
Correct.
and all of these other things. So it's
You
like,
can
let's
still get,
focus on that and
yeah,
not
but
the
you
other
can
half.
still, you can still have your pills that are going to make your dick hard,
Mm-hmm.
but your wife can't have birth control pills. So it's about controlling female anatomy, female bodies. It's
Mm-hmm. Have you felt like put in a box or like an attempt to be controlled by men in the paranormal field?
oh
Like,
fuck yeah.
yeah,
Oh fuck. If
here
you're
we go.
watching this, you know that I'm talking to you.
Mm.
I heard the podcast that you were on where you quoted my words almost verbatim and then you said, I heard someone say. I listened. It's actually saved on my phone. So I heard you. And I know that you know who I am. And I know that you're like a little bothered about how I deconstruct people's equipment. So I hear you. Okay. Yes, I have. Men have used my information and passed it on as their own. They've used my research and passed it on as their own. They've used my direct quotes. You know, how do you know it works if you don't know how it works? They've heard someone say that once and then they'll pass it off as their own. I had an issue with a man passing off their equipment builds as like I taught them how to do it and they make the same stuff as me. I've gone into investigations with people that are like either electricians or things like that, and they have tried to explain my own equipment to me. Why, like literally, while like a huge Wi-Fi signal box is on the ceiling, and when I say, "Oh, what kind of EMF meter are you using? Are you using an electrician's one?" And they're like, "No, it's a K2," and I'm like, "You're an electrician. Like, why aren't you using like your Hellekson? Like, why aren't you using an EMF meter?" I'm like, "Okay, well, that's no big deal. Did you test the ceilings?" Oh, well, no. Okay, but go on. And then when they hear that I'm like studying what I'm going to be studying electrical engineering, they like roll their eyes like, "Oh, great, you're another engineer that's going to piss off all the electricians." And I'm going to be like, "You didn't run an actual EMF meter around the ceiling of this heavily wired room while you're talking about your REM pods going off and it's ghosts." Maybe that's why sometimes engineers piss off certain electricians, because you're telling everybody you're an electrician and you know everything, and you're like tripping over these things, but you're so used to being in a room. This is getting sexist, and I apologize, white men. White men will walk into a room and immediately think that they're the smartest ones in there, especially if it's a room dominated by women. And I am so comfortable with being disliked. Like, I am so comfortable with being disliked. And I will still be so kind and so nice while I tell you how fucking stupid you are. I like to say that I like to nurture the mother wound that these men have. So I will gentle parent you into a place where we can form an alliance, because I'm like, I want you to feel like you're a part of my group, because the more you feel like you're a part of my group, the more you can start your healing journey too. The more you can see that women aren't here to threaten you. The more you can see that you don't have to hate women to make yourself feel more manly. So as long as I approach it in this way that it's not like, well, it is kind of like, but it's also like, ha ha ha, but come on in.
You still keep your character.
Yeah.
Like, you
And
still
it's
keep your
like,
character and your ingenuity.
you could be a part of this if you want. You just can't be an asshole while you're in here.
Right. These are the standards. These are the expectations in order to continue to interact with me or the people around me, or to continue to interact with the activity that we might be doing. But you don't have to be 100% of a greatest person on the earth in order to be a part of this.
Yeah. No, because we don't come to the table perfect. We never will. We never have. I never did. So why am I expecting other people to come to my table perfect? I don't.
No, we're all like our collective experiences, our traumas, our wounds, and we're all really just churning and yearning to belong.
And we're just trying to figure shit out. And sometimes we make really dumb decisions, and sometimes those dumb decisions do affect the future of our entire world. But it's making sure that I have just those firm boundaries in those places. I'm not afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to talk over men too. If a man starts talking over you, just get louder. It's okay. They're fine. They probably just weren't hugged enough. But it has its challenges.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was recently on a Talking Strange with Aaron Sagers with a few other female creators, and we talked a lot about this. We talked a lot about the being polite for the sake of peace. And it is something that I do. I am not just blatantly rude to the people that I don't want to be around me, because I do know that while I have boundaries for myself, that I'm still part of a community that mediocre white men doing jack shit can still get a lot more attention than me, and that
Mm-hmm.
they can still be louder and heard more than me. So I do have to have this level of like being polite to the people that I might not want to be polite to, as long as my boundaries are at least respected, then it's
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's no big deal. I just keep them at arm's length. But it's you do have to navigate it, and it's exhausting
Oh,
because
I'm
it takes a
sure.
lot of finesse to
Mm-hmm.
navigate this world in a very neutral way, because like I do want everyone to feel a part of what I'm creating, no matter what. No matter what.
And I think too, like, by the way, that podcast episode was probably like the most culturally enhanced, inclusive discussion that I have ever heard, with a male leading the discussion with all women and not taking away from any of the discussion, but adding to it. And I really loved it. I've listened to parts of that numerous times. And I mean, I've listened to the whole thing, but I came back to certain parts of that a lot. And I'm like, wow, I love this discussion. I wish that there were more out there like this, because I don't hear a lot of it. And I think, and for me, like, I'm always so afraid. This is probably honestly the first episode to dive into all of these dynamics, because I really want to. And I don't want people to not like me because we do it. Because then I'm like, okay, well, no one was going to want to come talk to me. No one's going to have these conversations then. And like, I do need to be able to get a little bit more comfortable to be disliked. And I think that coming into my own really in this entire last year, that after like some experiences that I've had, the material that I've consumed, the education that I've had, and then like even, your book too, I'm like, I have to own my own shit and not be afraid that it's going to push other people away. And I have to also be okay to know that my character will speak for itself. I don't have to do much more than that. And I do need to have boundaries, and I do need to be polite, and I do need to be inclusive. It does not mean that I won't necessarily get all the things that I want, because it might not be that way, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to get something that I deserve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And being out there and being yourself, and then still having conversations with people on the complete opposite side, those things are so important. But in order to do that, you do have to be yourself, and people have to know that you differ from their opinions, because then that conversation means so much more. It means so much more. If I'm just navigating the world and pretending like I agree with everybody, none of my conversations mean anything.
Right.
It's not I'm just stroking everybody else's egos. But if I come to the table and I say, you know, full well that I have opposite views, and we can still have this conversation, and we can still agree on so many things, and we can still find this like common ground, that conversation means so much more to me, but it also means so much more to somebody who did not think that a conversation like that was possible. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where change starts to happen. And that's where change happened with me too. When I was able to have conversations with people that have completely opposite views, I'm like, I don't, a lot of these people aren't trying to hurt everyone. It's just the implications of the choices that we're making could be harmful. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're just thinking of it from a self preservation standpoint. And maybe that's because access to information is so skewed. And maybe that's because, the media manipulates everybody, and everybody is non biased when nothing is non biased. Everything is so separate, and there's so many damaging resources out there that are just being thrown at people, that it's like, I I don't I don't want to hate people anymore. Now, don't get me wrong. If
Mm-hmm.
you're like swastika on your chest, I'm a Nazi, fuck everybody if you're not white. I'm gonna kick you in the face with a combat boot.
Right.
But like, that's so, just like, I'm super not into like the blue-haired like liberal stereotype either. Like, so the
No.
the
Mm-hmm.
extremes on the left and the extremes on the right, I'm not interested in, because it's so divisive. Because every decision they make now, every decision is, what will the left hate? I'm going to vote for that. What will the right hate? I'm going to vote for that. You're not voting for yourself anymore.
Right.
You're just voting to hurt people.
Mm-hmm. And I think individualistically, like that notion in in the United States is that like individualism. And I'm like, that is great. You can do that. But when individualism tries to run an entire country, that doesn't work because that
So
one individual stuff is not a one size fits all thing. We
we
all
have to
need to be
stop
able to
centering our own experiences.
exactly like be individualistic in your life.
Yes.
You know, honor that. Be you, you unique being. Please, for the love of God, be you. But don't expect everybody else to be.
Because the thing is that if everybody was like you and everybody believed in the same shit, you wouldn't be special anymore. Sorry.
Yeah. Like all of our differences are the ones that like make us so special. And I think too, like, so when I'm going to, you know, off to locations, right? Or for public investigations, private investigations, I see a lot of people that look like me. I don't often see people that look differently than me. And I think that even in the paranormal community, we can be individualistic and gatekeepy and weird about all of those things. And I even just like going to locations that mostly males own.
Mm-hmm.
And the only female owner of a very popular, you know, iconic location has their own drama around it. And a lot of it is getting a little bit more like female based, you know, like sexist in those ways as well, rather than like calling it for what it is, which is a lot deeper than just what you can see on the outside. But having males run haunted locations, I don't really ever see a place for women there, but I did see a place for you at MadCon, you know, having your resonance chamber experiment.
Yes.
And
And the funny thing is too, is that is because of Rebecca, who is so Adam Kimmel owns Madison Seminary, and Rebecca
right.
Kirschbaum is Adam's partner, and she has been. They've since now like live on site now, and she has been diving so deeply into just a lot of that, and the reason why I have that change. Don't get me wrong. I hate Adam Kimmel with all my guts. Just kidding, Adam. I love you. We're supposed to hate each other. He's my mortal enemy. He's like barely a year older than me, and I call him my little brother. Um, but like Rebecca, she was like, I just woke up one morning and I was like, Lauren needs a room. And she was like, I need you to figure out what to put in a room. And I was like, bet I'm going to do it. And we like went crazy. And there's like some content around it where she's like, I haven't brushed my teeth. And I was like, me neither. Let's make a video. Madness. Poor Adam. Although he's eccentric in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I just want to do one little shout out here. So there is a woman who, and I wanted to bring her thing up so people can follow her, especially women who are like, I'm kind of tired of like the white dudes having everything and all of these mail-in places. All right, there is a location called, let me get the official name of the location. I've been there. So it is in Marietta, Ohio. And it's a Hidden Marietta tour company. And they own the Marietta like mansion in Marietta, Ohio. And her name is Melissa, and she is Viva La Melissa on Instagram. She was on the podcast with me, Aaron Sager's podcast. And she is this vibrant, hilarious, like gothy, fucking amazing, like young black woman who owns this company and runs this whole location. And me and my husband went there, and there is like this little boutique, and there's this like cottagecore boutique upstairs with clothes, and it's a haunted location, and you can investigate it. And they do tours all over Marietta, Ohio. So highly recommend following her, because as much as that podcast was great, it was 4 white women and 1 black woman. And we need more black and brown women and men present in the industry, but like especially black and brown women, black, brown, indigenous, and other women of color present in the paranormal, doing things like this. And Melissa just happens to be somebody who like owns and runs this place in Marietta. So like support Hidden
As soon
Marietta.
as I heard the podcast episode, followed all of her stuff. She ended up following me back as well. And I was like, oh,
Have her
wow.
on.
I will actually reach out to her after this, because I had no idea. Like,
Be like, I just had Lauren on, and she was like, She
You
threatened
need
my
to do
life.
this.
Have her on. She's hilarious, but she's so sweet. I think she's obsessed with Matthew Lillard.
Oh my, what a person to be obsessed
She's
with.
so cute. She has like 12 TikToks about her going to meet Matthew Lillard, and she's like, "This is my husband." Don't get me wrong, he's a sweet baby angel. He's a wonderful human being, and I'm low-key jealous that she got to meet him. But that is like a person to follow and to lift up in the community. We need more women. We need more not white people bringing diversity to this, because the paranormal and the spirituality goes so much deeper than our European roots, y'all. Like, especially on this land. Like, if you see somebody who is not white, it is very likely that they have some deep ancestral trauma tied to how their line ended up in this country. If their line goes back to, and there's so much that we can learn from their experience and their experience actively in America now, and different ways that we're able to uplift and push them into these more powerful positions, and in these positions where other people are more accepting and more open, and they need visibility. And I'm not saying that as like I'm a white lady, I'm speaking for them. No, but also, yes, because I'm loud as fuck. So I'm going to say,
well, and you're using your privilege for a way to have other people come into the same space, and for us to learn from people who don't look like us, and from people who aren't from the same spaces that we are, because there's so much to learn about life in general.
And this bitch is hot.
Oh my gosh. What is that tattoo? I'm so drawn to the tattoo.
Exceptional quality. Everybody.
Love it.
Oh, and there's her with Matthew Lillard. Obsessed. Obsessed. That tattoo, I don't know. It's some like beautiful, it looks like it's like this beautiful, like powerful, like black witchy tattoo.
Let's say I stare at your hands too, like the entire time we've been on here. Mostly just because I love artwork.
Obsessed with her. Yes. I'm obsessed with her forever.
Oh, I love the sass
and she's so goofy.
That just gave.
And she's so sweet, and she's just she's kind, and she's smart, and she's this like powerful business owner. So please, viva la Melissa, please like follow Marietta Company. Go there. It's gorgeous.
I was gonna say, because like I almost went to Marietta College, so it's like I've been to the area, but I've had no idea about like the Marietta Mansion. So like now I'm definitely going to put it on a part of my road trip for 2025.
Not just that though, it's like on a hill, so it like overlooks Marietta, and you can tell that it's so separate from like the modernization that's around it, and it's on this hill, like in this clearing, and it's this like pinnacle of it's this beautiful, it's gorgeous. And it's so fun there, and it's just a cool place to go and a cool place to be. And we camped in Ashland. Ashland's right next to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. We camped. We brought the camper. We camped in Ashland, had a wonderful weekend, and we went to there for when I was doing like just some filming. I tried to do some like YouTube filming. Didn't work out. I am way too ADHD to like edit hours and hours of I couldn't do it. I got one episode out, and it was great. Don't get me wrong. The Hillview Manor episode's amazing, but that's the only one I could get out. I couldn't do it.
One and done.
But it was fun. And she wasn't, I was so sad because I was really looking forward to meeting her, and she wasn't there, and I was really sad about it. But I'm going to go back again because now we've since become like friends, so it's great. So I'm going to go and visit and see her. So, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, the end.
I love it. And thank you for plugging her in here. And I think that I want to learn from everybody that I have on. And you have been in so many different areas, communities, groups of people.
Oh my God,
like at this point in time,
tapped into anything. This is such a different podcast than anything I've had to do. Because usually by this time I'm like talking about equipment and stuff. Nah, man.
Well, and I think that this is like, we all know what you put out there, right? And not to say that like we shouldn't like focus on it, or that we shouldn't like have that be like an integral part of it. But I think that all of the other stuff is really what makes you. Like, these are the things that you can put out there as like a materialistic symbol of like, here, these are what my talents are. This is my passion. This is what I know to do. And here's the woman behind it all. And that's usually, I'm always interested in the people more than anything else, because that all of like your equipment and stuff, they will change, you'll modify and you'll do all this stuff, but like you yourself too will always put out the best of you that you have on any given day. And I think that that's the best part of any of it.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you.
Oh my God. I appreciate you. This is it's not over yet. We have like a whole 3 more hours.
I know, we were to all of our listeners, we were like, how many parts do we need to do of our series with Lauren to get out everything? And I was so upset with myself at MadCon because one, at that point in time, I would say that point in time in my life, it was in fucking September. We're in November. But at that point in time in my life, when I get into the paranormal community for whatever reason, sometimes I like hermit. Sometimes I like put up this like protective, like these lenses because one, I'm so like energetically open, like my human design body graph, like I'm just very energetically open, meaning that I take in so much shit. And I don't know what it is about like the community conventions, no matter where I'm at. Went to New Jersey Para Unity, was at MadCon, I've been at Penhurst for all of the conventions. But every time that I go, I get very weary and uneasy, and I kind of get a little bit irritable, and I get like, and I know it's from everyone else's like energy that's there. I don't know like whose it is, but it's just like collectively it just does not make me feel the greatest, and I have a really hard time stepping into my power in those like communities because I just feel like this all the time. So there were like moments where I would go over like where your table was, and I would just like nope, bypass it back, and I was like, nope, I'm intimidated. She's so loud, she's so this, she's so that, and I love it. Like I love it. I want to be like her best friend, and at the same time I'm like, I can't even talk to her. Like I have to like, nope, don't look at me, don't see me.
You should have like messaged me before MadCon and been like, I'm gonna be at MadCon, and I would have been like, oh my God, I'll have a chair for you, and you could have just come like hung out with me.
Yeah, I would have loved that next year for sure. And even like, so I had been to Madison previously to that, and I've been there like 5 times, but when you had debuted your chamber experiment, I did not know, one, I did not read the signage. It was literally right there in front of my face.
I know.
I had
Don't
opened
worry,
this door. Like I opened this door
and for welcome, traveler.
I literally shut it. And I was like, I encroached on someone else's space. I don't know what the fuck I just did. I got off the floor. I didn't go back in for like hours. Like I was like, what did I just do? Like
it's automatic. It's triggered by a body walking into it, and it turns on, and it freaks out everyone.
Yeah,
I walked in, and then I just like hear your voice.
Sign, and I was like, no, there's a sign. No, I didn't. No, I didn't read it.
Welcome, traveler.
Now I need to do it though. I'm so mad that I left because I was just oblivious to what was going on at that point in time, and I'm like, fuck.
You'd like it, especially, and also too, it would have been nice for you at MadCon even during the day because it probably would have grounded you out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm changing the sound in December. I am filming a documentary about myself. My friend Anthony, who is he's an independent filmmaker, but he's also worked on some different films and some different TV shows. He worked on Paranormal Activity, and I'm a big Paranormal Activity like whore. Like I'll just rewatch all of them for funsies, like in the middle of the day, not even to be scary, just because I don't know why I love them so much. It's probably the same reason why I love Twilight. I don't know. It's just like those are like that's like my friends. Like how people can rewatch Friends or rewatch The Office or whatever. Me, it's Friends like here. Twilight and Paranormal Activity.
And you know what? You don't know anybody get an explanation about why those are the things that you love and come back to.
Yeah, those are just yours. Like that's my Ross and Rachel is those people in Paranormal Activity. So, but he was like, I really want to branch out and do some independent documentary work, and I really want my first piece to be on you. And I was like, say less, bitch. And so we've been planning this, and I'm going to try to plan me changing out the chamber around when we're filming. So we're going to start filming in December. But it's going to be cool though, because it's like the same vibe of what we're doing too. He's like, I want to get past, he's like, I know everybody knows that you build stuff. Everybody knows what you do. And he's like, I want to get like, he's like making me get out baby pictures and shit. And there's some funny ones because I pulled out some and I was like, you mean like this? And it's like me in some like chino shorts and a purple t-shirt and penny loafers with no socks. I have a bowl cut where it's like this bowl cut. And I had cut out wings from a refrigerator box that my dad brought home because I'm like a cat. My dad would bring home big boxes for me to play with.
Oh my God.
He'd bring home big boxes. Like I'd be like, Dad, will you bring me home a refrigerator box? Or he would bring me home the old computers that his work was throwing out, and like those were my toys growing up. And
Oh my
don't
gosh, I
get me
love it.
wrong, like my parents were middle class. Like we had access to like money and we had a computer and toys. No, I was like refrigerator box or computers. Bet that's all I need. If I fits, I
Yeah, let
fits.
me take it apart.
So he helped me cut out. I designed the wings, and he helped me cut out these huge, like, I don't know, they're like rectangles. Like they were never going to work. And I like tied them together and I made little hand things. And then he took pictures of me in the front yard of me testing them. And so I'm running around the yard in these like chino shorts and penny loafers with no socks and this bright purple plain t-shirt and this bowl cut, just trying
I
to
love it.
fly.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, these are gonna be the majority of the pictures. That, and there's like a picture where I look like dirty and feral and I'm in a lab coat at COSI. Just my hair's not brushed and I look like a mad scientist.
He's like, these are the opening credits for the
Yeah,
documentary.
I'm like, you're gonna see that I have really come back to myself as an
Mm.
adult because I went through that like corporate sterile sort of phase. Oh
Hmm.
no, I'm back. I'm back to me.
You're
Childhood
like, this
me is
is
like,
me.
childhood me thinks I'm like her hero now.
Yeah, well, I was just talking to
Straight
one of my
up.
friends like yesterday, and she was one of my best friends in the world. She messaged me and was like, "How was your investigation this last weekend?" I was like, "Oh my God, it was cool as fuck!" Like we were in this like looked like a French Quarter, New Orleans style like bed and breakfast, like, and we rented out the whole thing, and it was amazing. It was really awesome. We spent most of the time with the owner. She like felt like she got answers that she really wanted for herself, and like, yeah, whatever you took away from that experience is all yours. I'm glad that you haven't. She's like, you know what? She was like, your weird ass little child inner self is like screaming at you, being like, you are living your dream. Thank you for doing this. And I was like, like that was like the best thing that anybody could have said to me, and because it's coming from her, like it meant so much more. But I do
Yeah.
think that there are so many people that are walking around that don't have that connection to their inner person, and it's like I think mine's pretty happy that I'm doing what I'm
Or
doing. I'm so
it's,
glad that yours is too.
oh my gosh. And it's also too like because I did it for a while too. I tried to pretend like I was honoring who I wanted to be when I was young. And I was like, oh, that's okay. Like teenage me would be like, oh, cool, you run a bank. That's really awesome. But then when I'm like, no, like there was a point at Michigan Paracon where Amy Bruni came up to me and clasped my hands and said, I watched some of your content and I think you're really great. I want to reach out to you soon and I love your equipment. And like, fuck managing a bank. In
Yeah.
2004, when I started watching, Ghost Hunters, and then the next season when I saw Amy Bruni, this not psychic woman, because not all women are psychics, y'all. Like,
Hmm.
stop. Come on, and she's just an investigator, and she's just like looking for stuff. And I was like, oh my God, and like 18-year-old, 19-year-old me, I was like, oh my God, like that is fucking goals right there. And then this same woman knows who I am now. That is that's inner child honoring. Or
Oh
like
yeah.
little tiny me who's like, I don't know, depressed and upset because her mom is drunk and doesn't talk to her. And my mom passed away, so I'm sorry, Mom. You knew who you were. It's fine.
Hmm.
We're good now. We a lot of our relationship was healed actually when she had dementia. She became so fucking nice. So
Wow.
nice. Yeah, there was so much healing that happened when she let go of who she was because of the dementia. And I think it was
Mm.
healing for her too, because she let go of a lot of her like trauma and a lot of her stress and a lot of her anger. And we were able to really heal a part of our relationship. And, but like angry me, little me, like drawing pentagrams or whatever, like thinking that witchcraft will bring my mom back to me and all this stuff. she's now too. She's like, wait a minute, like you have like 9 altars all around your house. You can just do witchcraft out in the kitchen. That's amazing. And it's like, sorry guys, your inner child's like not happy that you manage a bank. Make sure you're doing something that like your inner child is really, I mean, other than of course, like, you know, you firemen, I know that your inner child's like, oh my God, we can be a fireman. But like,
well, like you'll know it and it feels different. It's much more visceral than cognitive.
Yeah. It's like there's something that clicks and you're that something in you, like you go back in time for a second and you see this tiny version of yourself go, we do what? Like I love the TikToks where like sometimes they're really sad and traumatic where they're like, did we marry him? And I'm like, I want to make one that's like, are we doing it? And it's like, yeah, bitch, we go to spooky places.
Fucking are.
We met all the people that we think are cool. Like Nick Groff from Ghost Adventures wished you a happy birthday, girl.
You're like, let's go back in time just a little bit and like show the scrapbook of my life. Like,
yeah,
that's freaking amazing. And I do think that like, and nothing else like money, fame, status, this, that, and the next, nothing really takes that away from that moment. You know, like nothing can ever trump that moment.
Money helps.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I had like somebody let me win the lottery one day, I would be like, oh, I would do so much with these things. My problems would go away. Some of them.
My husband was a big piece of me even being able to do anything that I'm doing because he was just like, listen, when I met him, he was not getting a lot of disability from the VA. And I'm like, bro, why? And we started
change this.
Yeah, we started going back to the VA. We started going to the doctor with him. They were like, holy shit. He got his rating like really, really quickly. And then a lot of that changed. And then also too, I was like, you hate your job. Like, why don't you just try to like get a different job in the company or whatever? And he's like, well, I don't know. And I like redid his resume and all this stuff. And I was like, you know, let's do this. Let's do that. He's in like a job that he loves. He has his like full disability rating now. All this stuff. We're in like our dream house and all this stuff. And I was just like, you know, I kind of, when I started dabbling in building equipment, I was like, I don't know, like I made, like the first thing I ever made was for myself. Like the amethyst crystal pod was the first thing I ever made. And people went feral.
Oh yeah.
Feral for it. What is that? Take my child. And I went home to my husband and I was like, I'm wondering, I'm addicted to owning businesses, but I've had way too many businesses. So I went home to him. I had just closed my yoga studio and all this other stuff. And I was like, I kind of want to see if like maybe I can make this work. And he was just like, we just closed your other business. And I was like, I know. And he was like, try it for 6 months. It's okay. We'll be fine. Try it for 6 months. You don't have to go back to work full time right away yet. Like just try it for 6 months and see what happens. And it blew up. It blew up so much that I was like, okay, I don't think I want to do this full time anymore. It's not fun anymore. So I just recently started a full-time job because I'm like, I kind of want it to just be fun again. Mm-hmm. So I scaled back because it blew up a little too much. And while people are like, why, that's such a good thing to happen. I'm like, I don't want to have employees. I don't want other people building my equipment. Mm-hmm. I want everything to be very personal and to come from me because there is still a lot of like ceremony and energy that goes into it. So I don't want other people doing it. So I had to scale back. So I ended up going back to work. And now I'm just doing it as like a small side thing again. And I think it's going to
You don't want to get burned out from the things that
I
you really love.
because I really love doing it. And I'm going to go to school for electrical engineering. And like, I really want to do this. So I did not want to get burnt out. And I was getting, this year, I got burnt out.
I'm sure.
I girl boss too close to the sun.
Mm-hmm. And like, you know, girl boss your face off with boundaries, you know, doing it how you want to do it so that you can live a life that is the life that you want to live without being like, this is the only thing that I'm here for.
Yeah. I was struggling with boundaries on that because I was like, oh my God, you guys want to give me money because you want the things that I make. This is like the creative, the artist, the like all of those parts of me were like, oh my God, you guys like what I'm making and you're giving me money for it? Yes. And then I'm like looking at like the list of my orders and I'm like, oh fuck.
Well, actually, my friend Emily Jordan, she has a crystal pod from you and she broke it out at our investigation this weekend. And I was like, give me Lauren's crystal pod right now. Like, you play with it all the time. Let me play with it. Like, I want to try it.
And
And it
I
was
teach people how to make
beautiful.
the stuff that's inside there.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
I don't want to learn. I want it from you.
and it's so funny because people are like, why do you teach people how to make things like when you sell these things? I'm like, well, number one, I definitely like, I teach you how to make them and they look like this.
Mm.
And I'm like, I take the component out of that and I put it in my crystal pot. And then there's a lot more that goes into it.
That goes
And
into
don't
all
get
of
me
it.
wrong, I've
Yeah.
recently kind of seen some other creators make equipment that looks, it almost made me uncomfortable, that looks almost exactly like mine. And I knew that was going to happen eventually. Sure. But I'm like, I bring something different to the table. So it's fine. I don't care. You want to put rocks on your pod? I don't care. That's fine. You want to engrave stuff on it? That's fine. You want to make it look almost exactly like mine?
Do you think?
It's fine.
But it won't be
you
yours.
know what? There's enough for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough for everybody. And people are like, why do you teach people how to make the stuff that like you sell? And I'm like, because there's enough for everybody. And there's going to be plenty of people out there that are like, I don't want to do it myself.
Yeah.
You
None
do
of
it
those
for
things.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
And I like the whole, there is enough of it. And then there's never going to be another of yours. There's never going to be another of that person's, because it's all infused with your own specific energy. And I think that that's the most beautiful part about any of it. And I want to segue into a little fun section that I have that I've been doing on the podcast recently. It's called Cocktails
Is it about how we're
and
twins?
Conundrums.
Wait.
Oh my goodness. Look at that. I got it off Pinterest.
Why is this hard to...
like years and years ago.
I know the unalome was a very, this is like the, oh my God, why is it so hard to show you that part of my arm? This is like it's like the tribal of our collective generation is the unalome, but it's connected a lot to trauma, and
that makes sense.
even though the unalome is like a little like cultural, but I think we're all getting it because of it's traumatized, which is fine. And then I was like, I got mine in India. I'm fine.
You're like, I'm okay. Gotta pass.
But yeah, I
literally went to Pinterest and I was like, that looks cool.
I know. I'm pretty sure in India, my artist went to Pinterest, so it's fine. Because obviously it's almost like the
very, very similar.
Oh yeah.
I had one friend who, her sister, they were like, she saw my thing one day and she was like,
so hard.
I know. It's because of the, how like you have to twist your arm a certain way when they put it, like when they put the stencil on you, so that whenever it's like is done, oh my God, I need like a still. I'm gonna have a still frame of that. It's gonna be like the little YouTube art, like the thumbnail. That's what it will be like for this episode. It's like my sister, or my friend's sister. She was like, "Do we have the same tattoo?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And we put it out, and she was like, "Did you find it on Pinterest?" I was like, "Bitch, we have the same tattoo from Pinterest. We might have got it done at different places, but like have the same tattoo." But yes, my section of this like game style is called Cocktails and Conundrums. None of us have cocktails right now because it's earlier in the morning, and I don't say that because I wouldn't have drank early in the morning. I just didn't have anything that I thought would be a good morning drink. But so you'll pick a number between 1 to 25. I'll ask you a question that's associated with a number, and then we'll both answer it and see how it goes.
7.
So, 7 right off the bat. Okay. So, would you rather find a real cursed object and have to keep it for forever, or accidentally summon a ghost that stays with you for life?
I don't believe in ghosts, so summon a ghost.
What kind of ghost that you don't believe in would you like it to be?
Tesla. Nikola Tesla.
This person stays with me forever. Okay, pick another one. You're gonna do 3.
Oh, pick another number. Wait, you have to answer.
That's true. I'd probably summon a ghost that would stay with me for life. But it's like, I don't know, because it says accidentally summon a ghost. So if like I'm using what I would normally accidentally like,
I use this shit in invest. So it'd be Nikola Tesla anyway. I would just use it with my Tesla coil. And he'd be like, what the fuck?
What am I doing here? And I'm stuck
here forever? And I'd be like, let's bring all your dreams to life because the technology's here now. Let's do it, boo. Let's do it.
I think that the thing that I use my energy most towards right now is like studying human design. So probably like I'd probably accidentally summon the creator of human design, who is now dead, who changed his name to Ra Uruhu after a mystical journey in Spain that allowed him to create this whole thing, which really just meant he took a lot of drugs while he was in Europe and then came back and had this whole
Oh.
entire system, which I honestly very wholeheartedly believe
Oh.
in. So
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, weird, traumatic, lost white people can find cool discoveries too. But
yeah, it's the origin of human design. I'll tell you about it later, but the origin of human design is like, if someone knew that first, they would probably never believe anything that I would say afterwards, or even entertain it whatsoever, because of the like
of who created
weird
it.
origin, story.
Yo,
That's
there's
there.
a lot of weirdos that created stuff. Like, it's totally cool.
But he would probably be like, I would probably accidentally summon him as I'm like reading one of his books one day. That's
like
probably
that.
what I would like to do.
Okay. Okay. And then he can give you all sorts of like more secrets, and then you can
Yeah,
elaborate on human design and become like super famous and claim it. And then now a woman
please.
created it.
Yes, thank you.
Healed. Same with
Okay,
Tesla.
so I'm looking at my altar back there. What do I need to do to accidentally summon? Like, where's this book?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, another one, 1 through 25, but not 7.
13.
13. Here we go. Oh, if you could live, I feel like I know the answer to this question based on what you said before, but I'm gonna throw it
I don't
out
know.
there
I throw curveballs sometimes.
If you could live in a fictional world, which would you choose and why?
Can it be like a TV show, or is it anything?
Yeah, TV show, book, whatever.
The universe of the show The Magicians.
Oh, I need to watch that. Everybody tells me watch this.
Because it's
I never
very,
have.
their magic is very like meticulous and like mathematic based almost, but then it also has like Narnia vibes too, because there's a lot of like different creatures and things like that, but all of their magic is like pa 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 pa.
Oh, I thought you were just gonna be like Bella's best friend in Twilight or something.
Oh, no way. No, I don't want to be. No, I just want to watch. I would be like, Bella, no, he is a narcissist. He is way too old for you. I ruined the whole story.
Right? You'd be like, let me just frolic in the woods of Washington, and
Yeah,
you
and
guys
I would be
can
like,
keep
don't
doing
talk
your
to
thing.
Jacob. He is cringe AF.
I love it. I like, there's so many like fictional worlds I would love to like be a part of, but I'm gonna be like really cliche in this answer, and I'm gonna say Harry Potter. But the only reason why I say Harry Potter is because I was not allowed to dabble in the world of Harry Potter. I wasn't allowed to read the books. Didn't even watch the movies until I was like 29, I want to say.
Dude, I spent 9 hours in Harry Potter World at Disney World as an adult. I get it.
I want to see what the hype's about. So I would love to just go and live there for however long, because I'm like, all of you know about this secret world but me. So I really want to go and be a part of it. I want to be included, because I don't get the Harry Potter thing. I wasn't allowed.
Do you play video games at all?
No, but I just got my son a Nintendo Switch, so I might be playing some video games soon.
Get HP Legacy.
Oh, okay.
It's beautiful, and I get it.
now.
I'm sorry, J.K. Rowling is a trash can, a absolute trash can. There is a trans character in HP Legacy, which I really, really like, but it's a beautiful game, and I'm almost positive that the majority of the money doesn't go to her anyway. I think they bought out a lot of the licenses in order to create this game. I could be wrong about that. Please don't quote me, but oh my God, it's so cool. HP Legacy. It will heal a little bit of your wound of wanting to live in that world.
Okay, good, because I want to do that.
Yeah, and RIP to your son ever using the Switch again if you have HP Legacy.
Well, I literally I said to my mom,
buy yourself one of the little Switch travel ones.
Oh, yes.
That are like $200 or whatever.
I wanted to do that too, because when we go on like longer car rides, and we go to the beach every year, and it's like 5 hours, and like he normally sleeps like most of the time, but when we go back home, we always leave in the morning, so he's mostly awake for the entire time. I'm like, you need something to like occupy yourself. But I was telling my mom, I was like, Santa's gonna bring him a Nintendo Switch, and she was like, why? So you can get games and play it too? And I was like, well, yeah,
I'm telling you
like, it's not just gonna be for the 5-year-old. Like, I'm gonna start to play too.
And I also,
Yeah.
you can pick like the levels too. So I mostly do like easy, because right now I'm in a part of the gameplay where I do have to like fight stuff. And I don't love games where you have to battle because it like
Mm.
stresses me out. Because I'm like, I got to battle with shit every day. I don't want to do this in
Yeah,
my
right.
games. So they do have like a story only level. And then I play like the easy level. So you can still
Ooh.
like cast some stuff and like fight some
Mm.
things. And then there's like hard level where it's like, I don't know, you're getting attacked everywhere, but it's fun.
I'm gonna take
It's
my
gorgeous.
adventuring
It's
world into the HP world there.
gorgeous.
Ooh, yay. Now I'm excited because
Yes.
I have not played video games since like,
You
I
will
don't know,
gasp.
college in terms of Call of Duty, and that's just so boys would like me. And I was really good at it,
Oh,
so then it
girl,
got
I
really
get
fun.
that. I get
Got
that.
really fun. And then no one wanted to play with me because I would beat them and they were boys, and then no one liked me.
Boys don't
Backfired.
actually boys like girls that pretend to like what they like, but they don't want you to actually be good at it. Because they
Yeah.
want you to like what they like so they can beat you at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Learning that the
It's
hard
all about
way.
control.
Well, it's also like love football, Steelers fan. Like I've been in many rooms where like, oh my God, like, and dated men who obviously love football. And they were like, oh my gosh, your girlfriend's so cool because she says this and that and whatever. But then when I argue with them about a certain thing or a certain move that a coach had
You're
made,
just a
or like,
girl.
what,
You
yeah,
don't
it's like,
know
what do you
anything.
know anyway? And I'm like, well, you just 20 minutes ago, you thought like I was
Because
way
you're
up
the cool
here and
girl.
yeah, but like when I told you I thought that was really dumb that trade happened, and actually it's going to change this dynamic of a team and it's going to make this person what they're like, that's football's really not that deep. And I'm like, yo, you have like 50 men on a team. Tell me that it's not that deep when you have 50
Or
different
like
energies to do this stuff.
like
Like,
do you play fantasy football? So you have like a pretend team that you pretend like you own and that they play for you. Like please tell me about how it's not that deep
yeah, so
in your
shush.
weird pretend world, sir.
Yeah. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't play the cool girl. The only time I ever play a cool girl is if a man makes like a funny joke and I'm like, ha ha ha, I carry a knife.
that's my cool girl energy.
That's my cool girl energy.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
really good at throwing knives. Step back 20 paces and I'll show you.
right now. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and the fictional world that I would never live in is whatever men think in their brains, whatever that world is. I don't want to be in there like, at all whatsoever. Okay, last one, 1 through 25.
25.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. So if we go on the theory of, being in like a multiverse, so many timelines, all of these different, things you go into, what would one other version of your multiverse self be doing right now?
So I firmly believe that there was a point in time that I was crossing a bridge in Cleveland and I died.
Tell
And
me more.
I jumped into this timeline. So
Mm.
in that other timeline, I was still a yoga instructor, and I think I continued that. What is happening? Ah! Still a yoga instructor because this is okay. So I guess I could also go completely different, but this is like this is the it has to happen at least once during every podcast. This is like the one that I know happened.
For those of you who are listening, she just put her tinfoil cap on. Here we go.
When I was on the Oddity Shop podcast and I started talking about the chamber, and they were like, "Wait a minute, are we about to get into it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll talk about it." And they both reached, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And they put on tinfoil hats, and I was like, ah! It was very exciting. But so this is the one that like I know happened. So before that, I was with my husband, but I don't think we were married yet. And I was friends with a very toxic person who really didn't want me to be with my husband because it was taking me away from like their needs. And they constantly criticize things, or like if I just wanted to vent, like, he was so annoying today, they'd like latch onto that and be like expand on it and like, well, it's only going to get worse and all this other stuff. So in that timeline, likely I would not be with my husband anymore. I would still be teaching yoga. I would still be in Ravenna. And I probably would have, I don't know if I would have fallen off the wagon or not. I haven't drank in 7 years. No, I don't think I would have fallen off the wagon, but I think I would have definitely still just been doing what I was doing. I definitely wouldn't be in the paranormal, um, anything like that. So I would just be in probably still a complacent life, but then caretaker for my mom. My mom would have passed, and I would have gotten some money from life insurance, and I probably would have ended up far, far away. So I think maybe on that path, my life would look very different. And while cool, maybe I would have gone back to India. Maybe I would have gone, cool, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, oh, actually, no, never mind. That's a lie. In my other timeline, I died.
So if you hadn't died in that timeline, that would have been
That's what yeah.
maybe like how the rest of it would have gone.
Weird moment. It was this weird moment where I was on a bridge and there was a truck next to me and I slammed on my brakes because it was truck, me, edge of the bridge. I slam on my brake and the truck goes left of center. So like it was like a weird what's that movie with the logs that come off and now death's
Final Destination.
It was a very Final Destination mode because for some reason I got nervous that this truck was next to me and so I slowed down and he like woo, and I'm like maybe if I would have stayed there, hit off the bridge, gone. And there was this weird like click in time, and then there was this is so funny because my husband swears that no, it closed, it was fine. There was a Ponderosa down the street from us that was alive and well and open and fine, and people go there all the time. And I don't remember it closing, and it's closed now. Like it's boarded up, like overgrown parking lot closed.
Oh, wow.
And my husband swears, no, it was open and they closed and da-da-da. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It like, whoop. And then after that friendship ended. I started, COVID happened. I had to shut down my yoga studio. So my husband and I spent copious amounts of time together. And that's when I was like, oh shit, I think I could marry you. Like we have spent 24/7 and I like still want to hang out with you. So, and I was not a marriage person. I was like, no, thank you. And I was like,
but maybe for you,
husband, bitch. Yeah. Like you're not going anywhere. So we got married, all this stuff. And then it was like, we went to a haunted house at the Ohio State Reformatory and I saw this thing advertising for the paranormal group. And I was like, ooh, I want to sign up for that. And that got me on Tri-C Ghost Hunters. And that introduced me to Greg and Kathy Fiketic. And that's when Greg was like, I have this proximity sensor and it's broken. And I was like, bet I could fix that. And then I fixed it. And I was like, I could make these. And then I made that. And then, so then boom, 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 boom.
It just set you up on a whole different timeline. It sounds like, yeah, that makes sense. Life.
And I was like,
wow.
That, and I came home and I said, I think I jumped timelines. Like I remember, I was like, I think I jumped timelines. I think I died. And my husband's just like, yeah, okay. And I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever had an experience like that. Where like in the moment, right? Like clicked of like, something's different now. But I do think that like I've experienced those like decisions that catapult you into like something totally
and I know the
different. Moment. That is so wild to me. I'm so glad that you're living in this timeline.
Wrong. It was after COVID. It wasn't before COVID. It was after COVID. But still, it still like rocketed me in a completely different direction.
Right. Absolutely.
Because I did still have the yoga studio, and then it closed.
I love that you're here in this timeline, sharing it with
me.
I
know, me too. And I don't think I've switched since.
No, you're supposed to stay on this course for forever. Don't leave us and go into a different one.
There's some things that I feel like I sacrificed,
right, to
timeline.
Be in the place that you're at now. I don't know if it's like for me, like the timeline, the version of me in a different timeline. This would be like my dream timeline. I would be living in Nashville, Tennessee, writing and singing country music at the Grand Ole Opry in like
Aw.
the 50s.
Do you sing?
Yeah,
I want to hear it.
not now.
Do you have anything recorded?
That I have from eons ago on my MacBook. That's like this MacBook right now. It's 2007 from 2017. I do have a little.
Do you play an instrument?
No, I give up on all of those as soon as I start trying. I have 2 guitars here to
Do you
like
play
look at
guitar?
to say I wished I tried, but no. I've tried so many times to like
Start
learn it
doing
and do
music
it, and I
content
just
on your
don't.
TikTok.
Oh, that would be fun.
Please.
Yeah, I literally sit here and like in 13-year-old fashion sing into my hairbrush when no one's home. Still.
That'd be really cute content, like different, like motivational morning, like motivational morning concert.
Ooh, like let you in on my little ritualistic stuff that I do every morning
Yeah,
before I
like
go to
get ready
work.
with me, and you're just singing and like getting ready, and then that's your content.
Heck yeah, I'll just put like my thing on record and go about my normal day. But yeah, that would be my other timeline meme. I would have big hair. I would hopefully have like big Dolly Parton boobs or something too. It's just kind of whatever I am.
Nah,
The
that
image
fucks up
of
your
me.
back.
It's like the image of me that I have in my brain. But you know, rhinestone, everything, cowgirl, boots, all of the stuff. That would be
Man,
like
if we're
my dream
talking like
timeline.
that, yeah, no, I would still be like an inventor, like an inventor. I would be like, I said, and I said on the live stream last night at Hillview Manor that the vibe I want to give is like Miss Frizzle mixed with Bill Nye the Science Guy,
Yeah,
and like
I
in my
totally get that
dream
vibe.
timeline, I am that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also an entertainer because I mean, obviously, clearly, if you can't tell, I was in theater. I'm a very theatrical person.
Yes,
So
theater's
I
in here
am,
too.
I do have goals to enter the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like dream timeline would be like Bill Nye the Science Guy character, but paranormal, like Miss Frizzle vibes
Yes, I
TV
love
show.
that. So the next timeline jump that you do, that's the
No, that's
next
happening
timeline
in
jump.
this one.
You're making it happen.
That's happening in this one. Yep.
I love it. And I can't wait for all of us to see it. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you. And I feel
know, I
like we
appreciate-
literally just scratched the surface in
Yeah,
terms
this is
of
great.
what I want to learn about you.
I love it, but it scratched a lot of surfaces that I didn't scratch anywhere else. So this is good.
I appreciate that. And
So
I hope that
I'm sorry
all
to
the
everybody.
parts in the future
who's all
you'll be
watching this.
down for, because
Yeah.
many parts are coming.
And
And
if
for
you-
all of you, good.
Sorry, we're
okay.
just gonna keep going. Okay, no, I just have more things to say to you personally.
Okay, we'll do that. But for all of you listening or watching, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be alerted of future episodes that happen here every Thursday. All links will be posted in the description, so check out Lauren by clicking them below. Until next time, everyone, cheers!
Bye!